We turn back now to the breaking news of just a few moments ago. FBI agents have raided the home of former Trump National Security Advisor John Bolton early this morning. A source familiar with the matter tells NBC News that FBI agents were sent there as part of a national security investigation in search of classified records. The FBI has not yet commented on this story. We should note again, we don't know what's happening here. It's a raid. If there are criminal charges that follow, the government will have a chance, of course, to explain their case. But right now, we just know that John Bolton, former national security advisor for President Trump, now turned pretty harsh Trump critic, his home in suburban Washington has been raided. Joining us now by phone is MSNBC Justice and Intelligence correspondent Ken Dilanian. He is near Ambassador Bolton's home in Bethesda, Maryland. Ken, let's start. Just tell us the latest of what we know here, and what would the FBI, what would they have to justify a raid like this?
Good morning, Jonathan. I have one update for you. The FBI, in fact, has commented on this. An FBI spokesperson told me, I'm going to read the statement, quote, "The FBI is conducting court-authorized activity in the area. There is no threat to public safety. We have no further comment." And that is generally what the FBI does when there is a visible search of a residence or a business, is they will confirm, because it's obvious to everyone with eyes, that they are conducting court-authorized activity in the area. To answer your question, what would they need to do this? They would need a magistrate judge to sign a warrant after a finding of probable cause to believe that there is evidence of a crime at the location of the search, which is John Bolton's home here in Bethesda. And as you said, a source is telling NBC News that this is about a search for classified documents. So what's the context here? Well, John Bolton wrote a book that was very critical of Donald Trump, and it was sort of a memoir recounting his time as national security advisor called The Room Where It Happened. And remember, the Trump administration not only sued him, but also launched a criminal investigation, which was then subsequently dropped when President Biden took office and Merrick Garland became the Attorney General. The lawsuit was also dropped. They were trying to essentially say that he didn't get the required permissions and clearances around making sure there was no classified information in the book. He has long said there was no classified information in the book, but that is one of the possible avenues here for what they could be looking at. Of course, this is incredibly ironic, given the fact that just a few days ago, FBI Director Kash Patel was on Fox Business saying falsely that the search of Donald Trump's home in Mar-a-Lago, the FBI raid, was unconstitutional, was unfounded, that there was no predicate. In fact, a judge signed a warrant in that instance as well. And Judge Eileen Cannon, who is a Trump-appointed judge who ruled in Donald Trump's favor and in many, many issues, actually upheld the legality of that search and rejected Donald Trump's lawyers' efforts to throw it out. But, of course, Donald Trump and his allies denounced that FBI action. They called it an unjust invasion of his home at Mar-a-Lago. Now today you have police cars and FBI agents outside of John Bolton's home in Bethesda in a very, what they're saying is a very similar action, Jonathan.
Yeah, and Ken, to your point, of course, that case, the classified records case against President Trump, sort of went away thanks to the friendly judge there. And then, of course, his election. Bolton, again, we should note, former ambassador, national security advisor to President Trump his first time around, certainly more of the sort of hawkish, traditional Republican foreign policy orthodoxy. He and Trump never a great fit. Talk to us a little more, Ken, if you will, about just what the FBI has been up to of late, like putting this, what we know of this raid today, in broader context about how their mission under Kash Patel and under Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, has changed in Trump's term.
Yeah, that's a great point. But let me just first also point out some other context, which is that John Bolton, until Donald Trump took office, had physical security protection around his home here. I live not far from here, and there often was a vehicle stationed outside of that home because he is under threat from Iranian agents. The U.S. intelligence community has said that the Iranians are trying to kill John Bolton. When Donald Trump took office, he withdrew that security as well as for a number of other officials. So I just wanted to point out that context there. Yeah, in terms of what the FBI has been doing, look, a couple of things, but we reported exclusively last week that Kash Patel is trying to turn the FBI essentially into a national police force. He is de-emphasizing the traditional national security mission of the FBI. After 9/11, essentially the entire agency was reoriented to make the number one priority stopping a terrorist attack on the United States. So counterterrorism was the number one mission, but counterespionage has always been a huge mission of the FBI. Other national security missions, also white-collar fraud and corruption. Kash Patel sees it much differently. He refers to FBI agents as cops, and he has been taking a number of steps to direct them to essentially go after violent crime, which is generally a state and local priority. And also, he's ordered that FBI agents spend a considerable amount of time conducting immigration enforcement. But there's also been a clear direction for the FBI and the Justice Department to essentially pursue Donald Trump's political enemies. Now, they don't describe it that way, but in that same interview with Fox News where Kash Patel was denouncing the search on Mar-a-Lago, he also essentially issued a threat to any FBI agent or Justice Department prosecutor that had worked on that case or the other Jack Smith indictment of Donald Trump regarding overturning the election. Kash Patel said, you should come in and talk to us, and if you don't, you're going to find yourself on the end of our investigative activity, and it's going to be very uncomfortable for you. I'm paraphrasing. So that was a remarkable statement by an FBI director. Essentially, they're making no bones about the fact that they are looking to investigate people that were involved in what they said was weaponization with these investigations of Donald Trump. And in fact, they've appointed a lawyer, Ed Martin, at the Justice Department to be in charge of a weaponization working group. And they are working on various investigations, including reportedly a grand jury investigation that potentially involves President Obama and aides to Obama around the 10-year-old Russian, the intelligence community assessment of Russia's efforts to interfere in the 2016 election. So Donald Trump's law enforcement apparatus appears to be responding to his desire to relitigate all of these issues where he thinks he was wronged by the intelligence community and the Justice Department and the FBI. And it's going in what a lot of people think is some very dangerous directions.
Yeah, Ken, very important points there. We appreciate that context. One more to you at the moment. Again, this is Ken Delaney on the phone near the home of John Bolton in suburban Washington, that home raided by FBI agents a short time ago. Ken, tell us the severity, if you will, if indeed what we're hearing from a source is found, if indeed classified records are discovered there. Talk to us about the severity of potential criminal charges. Just how serious is this? Would it depend what sort of material it is? Walk us through those investigative steps.
Yeah, it's a great question, Jonathan. And of course, it runs the gamut. And this is another ironic question because we explored this issue ad infinitum, right, when Donald Trump was charged with mishandling classified documents, and legal experts said anybody else who did what he did would have already been in prison. So obviously, if you intentionally take classified documents from their secure spaces and you take them to your home or somewhere else, and you do that knowingly, that's a felony, and that carries serious prison time. And many, many people over the years have gone to prison for doing that. And the reasons often are not about that they wanted to turn it over to a foreign government, but people just, for reasons that are almost inexplicable at times, take classified documents home. In fact, there was a man who worked at the NSA who hoarded classified documents for years in his house. And it was never really clear why he did that. And eventually the FBI conducted a search, very much like the one they're doing today, and they found all this stuff and they charged him with serious crimes. But there are also many examples where people inadvertently took classified information and took it to the wrong place, put it in their briefcase. And in those cases, often they are not charged. And a great example of that would be the Joe Biden case, where classified documents were found in his home. And as soon as that happened, they went to the FBI and turned them over and allowed the FBI to search the facilities for more classified documents. And at the end of the day, a special counsel looked at that and said there was no crime here. Now, there was some other, there were some other issues there, obviously, involving Joe Biden's mental state, and there was evidence in that case that Biden knew years ago that he had classified documents and didn't turn them in, and so that was more serious than the typical case. But there have been many cases over the years where people, again, inadvertently have classified information where it shouldn't be, and that's discovered. Now, they can lose their security clearance over something like that. That's often a thing that happens, but they aren't charged criminally. To charge somebody with willfully mishandling classified information, prosecutors would need to establish that they knew they were doing it and that they did it for some nefarious purpose. And so essentially that's the legal landscape there, Jonathan.
All right, Ken Dilanian, stay with us if you